Yeah, it's kind of like in
Yeah.
our family,
Yeah.
like what's like the way like our dad went about raising boys
Yeah.
is the traditional way of
Yeah.
how the boy child is supposed to be raised.
Yeah.
So the boy child is not supposed to be emotional.
Yeah.
The boy child is not supposed to cry. The boy child is not supposed to complain that he's hungry. The
Yeah.
boy child has to be strong. He
Yeah.
has to be. So also, the boy child is not supposed to be like affectionate or show affection.
Yeah.
So being the laziest,
Yeah.
you can imagine the amount of insults I had
Yeah,
to
it's your
endure
thing.
growing up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, no,
But I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
my point is,
Yeah.
when you're raised like,
Yeah.
when you're raised in the like traditional sense,
Yeah.
expression for a boy is very limited. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of like your father doesn't even teach you that. It's
Yeah.
kind of like he will say things like "man up." It's
Yeah.
kind of like "man up." What does that mean? You can't cry in front of my father.
Yeah.
You make him uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's like stop this. This is repulsive. And since we live in a generally conservative social landscape, you got to be at least limit yourself artistically speaking, right? You don't want to be very risky. You're walking a fine line, both morally speaking, but
Morally
also
speaking,
in what you put out. You think has that taken any toll in the work that you do? You've done animation, you've done artistic projects and certain. So is that something that you think about very often?
It has, but then it's kind of like with the limitlessness that comes with creativity.
Yeah.
You can allow yourself to pivot. You can find the grace to pivot. But it did really do the stories that I ended up telling and the stories that ended up redefining our company. One of the stories that I had planned to tell in the beginning.
Yeah.
The stories that I had planned to tell were more fantasy,
Yeah.
and even my art style was more fantasy.
Yeah.
And I had to I had to come to terms that wasn't going to work.
Have you avoided certain quote unquote dark topics in a sense, because these are self-exploratory topics, like you're delving within introspectively, but we don't want to be too dark. People have, is that demonic? Is this
I
satanic stuff,
have it's one of the fears that
Yeah.
I have when it comes to the story that I want
Yeah.
to do next, because it has a lot of like very dark stuff, like the science behind like things like human sacrifice. Why does that happen? Like all the research that I've done into that particular topic.
Yeah.
Suicide. What are
Yeah.
the effects of suicide that we know of,
Yeah.
and what are the
Yeah.
effects of suicide on a spiritual
Yeah.
level?
Yeah.
And
metaphysical level.
on a metaphysical level,
Yeah, yeah.
like you want to say it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
when you want to write stuff like that,
Yeah.
you are obviously very, very aware of that it's not going to be received with the level of levity you would have wanted it to be received
Yeah.
by.